like if you liked Howl's Moving Castle, this is that same energy. Like this is cozy. This is like cottage core, like hangout movie sort of material. What was definitely like, I'm trying to segue this right, but like, do you remember when Animal Crossing's New Horizons came out, and it came out the same day as Doom Eternal, and both fan bases just kind of like had a day where they were like brothers, and they did all those fun crossovers. So we're gonna go from something super wholesome and happy, about childhood innocence and growing up, and we're gonna talk about Huesera the Bone Woman, which, as I mentioned to Matt before the show started, I almost like messaged you and was like, hey, we really got to audible this whole episode. Fuck Ant-Man. We got to talk about Huesera the Bone Woman for like an hour. But, we only got a few minutes. So how did you discover this movie? And like, what drew you to it? And were you satisfied with the experience?
Yeah, I guess I don't remember how I heard about this. I guess I was just kind of looking at a list of releases for this week, and I saw that it was done by a first-time feature director, and I saw that it was coming out of Mexico. And so, that to me, that's kind of a winning combination. I've been really, really fascinated with the film of Mexico recently, especially horror films. Such as Tigers Are Not Afraid. That's one of my favorites. And this was awesome. I really, really enjoyed this. I wonder, here's the question that I kind of have coming out of this movie. And I wonder if this movie hit me harder because of a certain place I'm at in my life. And by that, what I mean is this movie going to hit people who are between maybe the ages of, say, like 25 and like 35 harder than it would anyone else? Because essentially what this movie is about is people that shouldn't be having kids or don't want to have kids having kids. People who have no business having children having children. And I wonder that, if this kind of hits me a little harder because of the age I'm at, sort of in that age range where people who are our age are expected to have kids, or they're always asked about when they're having kids and whatnot. And so, I don't know, you want to start there? What do you think about that idea?
That is the power of this movie. Because, I was drawn in by, the spooky occult, stuff that I was told in the description, but the real like existential horror, the dread that's in this movie is entirely wrapped up in those themes that you mentioned. Like the place I'm at, I'm expecting a child in August, and like that, like as I was watching this, I was like, I could relate so much to the steps that the story takes you on, initially. Going to the visits, getting the news, how do you process it? How do you prepare? It's like all the stuff that typically happens to a couple, or, any person, in our age group when, like even though like I'm raising a toddler, I'm actually going to become a parent. And that comes with a totally different perspective switch. And it is kind of a cosmic horror in a way, which is, why I really appreciated the fact that they didn't get too in the weeds about why all this creepy shit was happening to her. They did, I didn't really, if they did it, I didn't really pick up on it. I was just more caught up in the experience as it was. There was no like, oh, you accidentally played with an idol while you were on a hike and now you're cursed with a spooky ghost demon. No, it's kind of like the Babadook and like other sort of like elevated horror movies. Huesera is, kind of just using those deep-seated psychological doubts and hang-ups and the inhibitions that people are dealing with, the cultural expectations people are dealing with, and just showing how it can manifest and externalize in ways that are really disturbing. And it had some really, really tight and simple sequences that, like, as a parent to me, like, made me like sick to my fucking stomach, and I don't want to spoil any of it, but like if you are if you have certain things in your past maybe don't watch this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't know if I'd even recommend my fiance watch this movie, even though she'd probably get a lot out of it, because like this movie was made for her, you know, women in her age group, you know, like, because like the main character of this movie, they do this neat thing where they do some brief flashbacks where you get to see who this young woman was before she was ever in the relationship with her significant other that the pregnancy, you know, derived from. And it's like looking at a completely different person with a completely different desire and hope for themselves. And yeah, for a first-time filmmaker, she killed it. And I really look forward to anything she does in the future. And I just really like a horror movie that is just, hey, this is just something that's happening. You don't like, we're not going to hold your hand too much. It's like, you know, it's like just, you know, keep up, gringo. Like we're not going to do too much exposition. Things are going to, you know, be said that are going to sound esoteric to you because culturally it's, you know, rooted in what it is. So yeah, I was very impressed. I have a lot of good things to say, and everyone should watch it.
Yeah, and you touched on it a little bit, but the other sort of aspect of this movie is sort of not being able to let go of your past or almost like your childhood, because she's essentially a like crust punk like musician who's LARPing as a like functional member of society, where, you know, she can't let go of like the music she used to like. She can't let go of her like woodworking hobby, even though she has to. She can't let go of her, you know, you get the sense that even though she's in a monogamous relationship, she's bi, and she can't, you know, stop basically having sex with her former girlfriend. And so it's all these things she can't let go of. And it kind of deals with that too, as far as, you know, growing up and all the sacrifices you have to make in order to have a child or to bring one into the world. And so that's the other aspect to this too. And yeah, I really like all of that, all the iconography in this movie with like the monster,
the woman crucified on her uterus.
Yeah,
just like that image, that was a reoccurring one. That was pretty wild. Sorry.
And just like the sort of monster of the movie, which is presented as like a naked, like broken limb like thing that sort of floats on the ground. Like there's that one shot in the film when it like sneaks into her apartment and it just sort of glides on its stomach into the apartment.
Oh, so good. Well, and there's another shot where she's like lying down to go to sleep, and you see this thing like through the open door of the bedroom like crawl over the floor, and before it's even like out of frame, a hand is already coming up to like grab her, you know. So like it moves like impossibly fast, and I don't know, that was a lot of unique ways to show that kind of thing. And because the baby monitor sequence made me want to die. Like how they would like with that withholding everything that, like, I don't know, that it reminded me of that sequence in Nightcrawler when he's walking through the murder house and he like looks over at the crib and you're like, oh shit, there's a dead baby in there, and you're just waiting for the dead baby to show up. Like, good shit.
Yeah, really good.
And as far as that monster goes, like they're faceless, like they almost look like, they're just these, you know, broken, identityless things, and it's all the other women who didn't make it out. You know, I guess like if I'm gonna put if it's too obvious, like that's kind of what like those creatures were. They were the souls of women trapped by, you know, the patriarchy. And like, how do you get out? Do you hang on to your witchy sisters, or do you just make do with the life you've chosen? Because ultimately it's not a cult doing this to her, it's her own decisions that have caused this conflict within her. And that's just kind of unique in a horror movie these days, like, which makes it unlike Hereditary, which it's being compared to. Yeah.
I guess before we move on, real quick, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the ending, and as far as because I think it's a little ambiguous as far as what's happening there in sort of the final two scenes of the movie. And what do you think is happening?
Are you talking like the whole like spirit quest, or just the final scene where she, like the final shot and building up to it?
Well, I'm talking about you see at the end of the movie, she basically trips a bunch, and then she sees there's two versions of her. There's like one on the floor watching, and then there's one in like a robe, and then that one burns and like basically is burnt up. And then the final scene of the movie it's a completely wordless scene. Nobody says anything, but it's just her and her husband and her baby. They're both crying, and then she grabs like a suitcase and a backpack and leaves the apartment, and then it cuts to credits.
She takes her toolbox with her too.
Tools.
The things that she had to put away and abandon. So yeah, like I got the impression that she was leaving. That she was saying, it's like, I'm sorry, but I can't do this. This isn't for me. Okay. And she's made the call that, like I, have brought life into this world, but I cannot be its mother. Like I know who I am now, and I would, be like, and basically she's walking away from that life because it would destroy her to remain in it. And so in a way, it's kind of like postpartum depression to a degree, but it has a feminist statement at the end that's pretty pointed, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that's probably what's happening there. But, there are definitely more ways to look at it, as far as like, either she's leaving on her own accord, she's being kicked out by her husband.
That's true.
Or she's going to find help. She's basically leaving to get mental health, because a couple scenes earlier in the movie, her husband is talking to her mother-in-law, and he's basically saying like, we should get her committed. And so maybe that's also what could be happening there, is she's going to find mental help. But yeah, very, very good ending. I like how they made it ambiguous like that.
I got a wet little girl here. Did you just get out of the bath?
Looks like it.
Good timing, kid. Okay. Why don't you go get your mama? She's got.
But I mean, go see it or go rent it. I think you can rent it right now. Mm-hmm. But it is going to be on Shudder, I believe, in a couple weeks.
Right on. Yeah, it only costs like $6 to rent it. That's what I did. I actually paid money. I was a good boy this time. Mm-hmm. I can't say don't ban me, Susan. Because Susan's gone. But Huesera was pretty rad, and I'm glad that you gave me the push to watch it.